video explaining what would happen if ARK's Giga entered Skull Island. I mean, you gotta think this is where Kong is, the Skull Crawlers. There's a lot of kaijus on this island.
It's not just
By the way, this video is by Goji Center.
This is ARK's Giga.
ARK's
That's
Giga.
Right. This colossal predator will be
played this
taken
a few
from
times
its island and dropped
on the
into the
streaming
most
channel.
terrifying biome of all time.
But I was getting dropped off too
much. Will the
much.
fauna in this island hold its own against the Giga, or will they all turn into this lizard's lunch?
I mean,
what
the
will
Giga's
Kong
ginormous,
or the
I'll say that.
Skullcrawlers do when they see this animal kill their food? Subscribe if you love prehistoric
I feel like Kong
carnage.
would obviously
Coming
put
up,
up a good
ARK's
fight here.
Giga in Skull Island.
Especially the most recent Kong.
In a previous
He's
episode,
huge.
we discussed what would happen if this Giga stepped on both Isla Nublar and Isla Sorna. The results were catastrophic
And
for
the
the
Giga would
inhabitants
destroy,
of those
yeah.
two islands. This time, ARK's Giga will face a roster
By the way,
of
if you know,
arguably
let me know in the
deadly
comments,
creatures,
what is the
varying
Giga?
in size,
Is it a
animal classes,
Giganotosaurus?
and most
Is it a
importantly,
different Giga?
intelligence.
Let me know in the comments.
We
I
are
don't
quickly
really
going to recap the Giga's two most important
I just know he's
attributes that
super
might help
powerful.
it survive a little longer on this island, as well as an additional one involving its corporal build. First and
Huge.
foremost,
He's a
getting attacked by
ginormous
this
dinosaur.
Giga or any Carcharodontosaurid will put you at the
What
mercy of
now?
some pretty sharp bladed teeth made for cutting and promoting tons of blood loss.
Okay, that's
In
never
ARK,
good for
this
anybody he's
attack takes
attacking.
form as its Gnashed ability, inflicting a
Gnashed.
temporary health loss debuff on the victim. Except in
Dang.
the real world and in our scenario today, any unarmored animal will suffer for the same effect but for a longer time.
they'd just be done.
Unlike in the game, you don't miraculously stop bleeding in real life. Also, let's quickly
That
cover
would be
this
nice.
animal's in-game rage ability, which is triggered by receiving tons of damage in a short amount of time. This allows the Giga to inflict even more
just
lethal
gets
damage
extra
on
mad.
its opponent.
Starts
This will
destroying.
take form in the real world as an adrenal response in this animal's
That's
body,
true. He
allowing
gets
it to
that
soak
adrenaline
up
pump and
damage
it's
as
over with.
well. And finally, this animal's
That's terrifying.
size. In the previous episode, we entertained the idea that this creature measured around 71 feet in length, based
See,
on
and that's
this
huge.
dossier image.
But against
in this
Kong?
episode, we'll align ourselves with the size that is seen during gameplay. Yeah, the size seen in the dossier is a way more conservative estimate. But
Yep.
here we see that this big dude
That was
measures
a
approximately
Giganotosaurus, by the way. I saw it on that paper.
45 meters in length, or up to 148 feet in length.
There we go.
That's right, guys.
Giganotosaurus.
This big fella is not here to play around. So,
That is
now that we have a
huge,
good
bro.
idea of what we're up against, let's
148?
unleash the Giga. The Monsterverse iteration of Skull Island is actually
It's
a
huge.
really big place, full of big monsters that come in the form of mammals, reptiles, giant hawks, and more. A vast environment. So big,
is
in
vast.
fact, that a
It is
full-grown
very
Kong
vast.
took a while to realize he was contained within an artificial environment that was a fraction of the entire surface area
I don't know
of
if it
the
took him a
island.
while.
All
I
animals
think he
here
knew.
have territories where they
That was like at the
thrive
very beginning of the movie.
relatively comfortably. Meaning that when ARK's Giga lands here, the first thing he's also going to do is find territory.
That's
the
true.
best place for him would be an area similar to where he thrives back in ARK, which would be the high altitude regions of the map. Yeah, this guy isn't
High
stupid.
altitude.
Here he has a good view over all things that happen below his scope of vision.
He's
and where
basically
he
the
can
Batman.
easily spot any prey or
The
threats that may
Batman
pull
of
up
the
on him
island.
for good reason.
I mean,
In
it
the
is a
previous
pretty good
episode
reason.
involving ARK's
There's a lot
Giga,
of-
you may recall that this guy
lot of
was pretty much
savages.
unrivaled in terms of size.
But now
with
he's
the only
rivaled.
animal getting close to it being the Mosasaur. Here, things are a
Is that how
little
you say that,
different. There are
Mosasaur?
some animals that
I
more
thought
than
it was
just rival,
Mosasaurus
but
or something.
potentially surpass the Giga in size. A monster like this Giga, or any predator for that matter, seeks to find its place in the food chain as quickly as possible.
Facts.
Sizing up threats and quantifying them as he towers through Skull
Hey, I'm
Island's
sorry, but if he
jungles.
meets Kong, it's
Inevitably,
over
he
with.
will end
My
up
boy can just
running
put him
into
in a
some of the
chokehold.
main ones.
What's he gonna do?
Beginning with the Mother
Bite him?
Longlegs, who towers over the bamboo forests.
The Mother
These will be
Longlegs?
easy to spot and bring down.
I mean,
Since
yeah,
this
you
Giga's
can just
jaw
bite
can
him.
encompass the entire body of one of these spiders, one chomp from these thick serrated teeth will be more than enough to crush the body organs of this arachnid.
That's gross, but
Fortunately
it's
for
true.
these spiders, the Giga was just strolling by, looking for higher territory.
Oh, okay, he
However,
just walked by.
if this acquired taste of spider proves to be delicious for this Giga,
That's
there's
gross.
no guarantee that this predator won't stop by again for some tasty spiders. As the Giga moves through the forest, he'll start running into other types of predators, such as these death jackals, the raptors of this island.
They're smaller,
These
though.
are extremely small in comparison to this Giga.
But if they've got like a big
it's
group,
possible that the Giga won't even bother chasing these things down at first, since the caloric intake wouldn't be enough to make up for the energy spent chasing these things down.
True.
It's like you running on foot chasing a half of a speedy granola bar. Not really worth it, dude.
Half of a speedy
So,
granola.
having
If I'm
said
chasing
this,
a
any
granola bar,
animal
something's
smaller
wrong.
than these guys would probably be safe from the Giga, if and only if they keep their distance, or if they stay in small packs.
That's what
we'll
I was
return
saying.
to this
They gotta have a
concept
bunch
in a
of
little
them.
bit, because there is a smaller set of living beings on this island that shouldn't feel safe just yet. As mentioned in many previous episodes, living organisms seek shelter, food, and water first before anything else.
That's
Yes,
smart. I
big
mean, you gotta
animals get
live.
thirsty too, and they need lots of water. The issue here is that fresh bodies of water on this island tend to be inhabited by some pretty gnarly creatures. But are they enough to bring down this Giga?
My. Like, see,
Skull
bro,
Island is so
Kong
far
would
home
just step
to a
on the
couple
Giga.
crocodilians.
It'd be over.
One which relies purely on ambush tactics, such as this siren jaw crocodile, a creature who waits on prey to confuse its
Siren
mouth
jaw
with a floating
crocodile.
cave or shelter, only for them to find out that this was the
thing is
complete
huge.
opposite. And the next being a swole crocodile who relies on both ambush and pursuit
Swole?
tactics
Like
to
beefy?
pounce on prey.
Strong?
But measuring against this animal, there's simply no competition. Same applies to this other animal, the swamp
Everything's just too
locust,
small
who
compared to
relies
him right now.
solely on ambush tactics on specific types of prey animals.
What about a skull
Given their
crawler?
size difference,
Those are
and
huge, right?
considering that this Giga kills anything smaller than itself, going to
Swamp
drink water
locust.
at a swamp will be more or less like going to a buffet. Unfortunately for these three creatures, ARK's Giga is just too big to attack.
Yeah, he would eat all
On
of
the
them.
contrary,
No
these
challenge.
animals will leverage their similar attributes to the surrounding fauna, staying low and deciding not to bother this Giga, letting it drink in peace lest they become this animal's appetizer. But we aren't done with freshwater just yet. If the ARK Giga decides to wander by a lake like this one, he may find himself in a sticky situation.
Is that the octopus?
This right
Yep, the
here
Kraken
is a
thing or
Meyer
whatever?
squid,
A Meyer
cephalopod
squid. You know
of
what I'm saying.
gigantic proportions,
The squid.
capable of releasing boiling ink. Can this thing bring down
Boiling,
the Giga?
by the
Well,
way.
let's measure them up. Meyer squids can measure up to 110 feet in length. This surpasses this by almost 40
I mean, he
feet
could wrap
and
him up
dwarfs
and,
this
you know,
thing in terms of
take
mass.
him into the water?
But does this matter? No, it is quite
Yeah.
possible that this Meyer squid could inflict deep wounds to this Giga with its beak.
'Cause look
which,
what he was
by
doing
the
to
way,
Kong.
rotates like blades. But this would then
That
in
helps.
turn,
Yep, that
one,
helps.
activate said rage mode we discussed earlier, and two, Giga would retreat backwards to dry land away from this body of water.
Yeah,
Since
he
this
wouldn't be
squid
able to
does
pull
not
him in
have
there.
the sufficient mass to drag the Giga down into the water, the Giga would win this tug-of-war match and drag the squid onto dry land.
I mean, from what we've seen so far, do you think anything could beat the Giganotosaurus on Skull Island? I mean, like I was saying before, I think the skull crawlers could and Kong could, but we haven't seen them yet, man.
Would
They need
this
to get to
hot
that.
ink do anything?
They're probably saving it
Maybe
for the
to
last
another
because
giant theropod.
they're probably
but
gonna be the
this Giga
best.
has something else up its sleeve.
What about a warbat?
Insane levels of
A
health.
warbat's on Skull
This
Island, or
takes
is that
form
on-
in this world as corporal resistance to the
don't
elements
remember.
and
I don't remember.
insane rate of recovery thanks to this animal's implied high immune system. Yeah, this thing can recover pretty fast and can tank a ton of damage, which
He's
is
just biting them
necessary
all.
given that this thing tends to step on lava quite frequently in its biome. So a splash
Casual.
of hot ink would probably just make this Giga even more angry. These
Yeah, you
teeth
don't
would
want that.
slice through this creature's squishy tentacles, causing this creature to cut its losses and retreat, and possibly
That makes
never
sense.
attack this Giga again.
Yeah, the squid's done.
Or worse, provide the Giga with its first course of seafood. So far,
Ugh.
we find that Giga is faring pretty
Chew,
well
bro.
against freshwater creatures. But now let's turn our attention to the even less fortunate inhabitants
Oh,
of
no,
this
not the
island.
turtles. Now
Icarus
we're going to
tigress or holy
medium?
tiger, scur buffalo,
Medium
and
animals.
spore
Okay, so we're going to
mantis.
small, medium,
Here's how
and
they
large.
measure up against ARK's Giga.
I gotcha.
Out of these three, the animal that would give the most trouble
That
to the
tiger thing's
Giga
actually
would be
huge.
this fella, the holy tiger.
The holy
Not
tiger.
because it's a giant tiger with antlers, but because of its hallucinogenic ability it can inflict on its prey.
Okay.
It's unclear on whether or not this
He's got
can affect
powers and he's
larger
massive.
creatures, but if it does, this animal's weapons are still not enough to inflict a single lethal blow before
Not
the
even a
Giga's
single?
rage mode kicks in and bypasses the hallucinogenic
Dang.
effects. The results would end up being a another murked cat.
You know, if there was a couple of them, though.
Well, these guys are interesting,
Maybe.
since they could technically injure this guy in critical locations. Let us explain. Full-grown Skur buffaloes are not to be considered pushovers. This bony mass on top of their skulls could
That's a
pack
big boy.
enough force to crush bone, especially if they do this in large numbers. Whether they have the balls to do this or not is up for debate. Otherwise, these creatures
Yeah, I
would
mean,
be
I'm not
nothing
running out of
except
Giga.
a
I don't
source
care
of
how
food
big
for
I
this
am.
giant predator.
I'm running
which
the
will
opposite
cause some
way.
issues down the line. The Spore Mantis
that a
here
skull crawler
is the
behind him?
lucky one, since it's arguably
Spore
the most
Mantis.
camouflaged creature in this island.
Yeah, he could just
ARK's
hide.
Giga would likely not notice these at all if
It
they
looks like a
just
tree.
stay low, which they do in the presence of a larger threat. Unless, of course, it gets stepped on, and, well, yeah, bye-bye Mantis.
That would be bad.
We'll throw in another major medium-sized creature for you really knowledgeable people of the Monsterverse.
Let's
the
see.
magma turtle. Before the
magma
arrival of
turtle.
ARK's Giga, this animal lived in peace thanks to its biology. This turtle is a living magma
He's
rock.
beautiful.
Anything stupid enough to try to attack it would just have a mouthful of lava. There wasn't really anything that could kill it apart
So that-
from
the
Camazotz,
Giga would try to
who
bite him, and he would
technically
just
isn't a native inhabitant
set his
of
mouth
this
on fire.
island anyways. Could ARK's Giga kill it? And would it? The Giga is 4 times the size of this magma turtle. The
But he's
issue
all-
here
well,
is that
it
unlike
just said
every other
he was
animal the
stepping on
Giga
lava.
could kill, you really can't eat this one. The good thing about
You can
being a
step on 'em,
magma
though.
turtle in this place is that nobody has any real reason to kill you because they can't even eat you. And yet, this Giga is known for killing everything with a pulse, whether
That's what I
it
was saying
eats
right
it
here.
or not.
He just steps
meaning
on
that
lava.
getting your head stepped on by a sadistic, bloodthirsty theropod from hell
Yeah, that
is
makes
now
sense.
a reality. That's thanks to this animal's heat resistance. Continuing on with the murder of innocents,
Bro,
we
the
find
Giga,
ourselves
he's got heat
returning to the
resistance,
small guys
he
we
heals
mentioned
fast,
earlier. If you
super
are small,
powerful.
you're not worth the caloric intake, except when you live in large, concentrated numbers.
Oh,
Again,
yeah.
with
It's
our
like a
example
buffet.
of the granola bar, you wouldn't think
Look at
that
the
it's
granola
worth
down
it,
there.
but if these are slow-moving and live together in some sort of enclosure, then you may find it worth your while
That's
now.
true. A bunch of
Yeah,
them.
we're
Catch 'em.
talking about the iwi population in this island.
Oh,
These
no.
people lived in fortified villages. These forts are built to keep out some of the hostile fauna from the island.
Yeah, I don't think
Every
that's gonna
other
help
animal
too
knows
much.
that behind this wall, a banquet awaits. These have been breached before during the events of Skull Island Birth of Kong, where this crackhead blew up the walls, bringing in a swarm of mother longlegs.
Oh
Before
my,
the events
that's-
of 1973, there
I'd have to
really
start
wasn't
busting
anything
down.
big enough other than Ramarak that could bring
Look at
this
that skull
fortification
crawler, bro.
down. Now there is ARK's Giga. As this dinosaur tears through these
First
dense
it was
island
giant
jungles,
spiders,
this
now it's
creature
giant
will
dinosaurs.
inevitably catch a whiff of these
It'd be
humans.
terrible.
The higher concentration of these people would draw
Those
the
poor
Giga
people,
to their
bro.
village, proceeding to tear down through these fortifications and begin to massacre these people.
Oh, my.
But messing
Look at
with
the
a
size,
few things
dude.
in this biome has a few repercussions. Going back to the Skur buffaloes, you are now messing with another predator's source of food. If you go around
Skull
killing
crawler.
innocent creatures just because, then you are going to anger a certain someone on this island.
That's true.
Yep, we're
Mr.
talking
Kong.
about skull crawlers and Kong.
Yes,
Being
sir.
able to fend off both of these monsters would almost guarantee this Giga a comfortable stay in this island.
Yeah, good luck,
For the
dude.
purposes
No
of this
way.
video, we will entertain the idea that this Giga arrived during the events of 1973, where Kong was around 104 feet in height. That is less than the length of ARK's Giga, but he is much taller.
Yeah.
This ratio seems a bit familiar,
I'm still going Kong,
similar
bro.
to
He's
the
got
King Kong
hands.
versus V-Rex situation. So, can this teenager Kong defeat a full-grown Giga?
Yes.
This episode would be extended
Yes.
another 20 minutes if we try to explain every detail, but in this particular situation, this face-off would be easily settled with one attribute: ranged weapons.
Exactly.
which
My boy
ARK's
can make an
Giga
axe, he can
lacks.
throw.
That's right. Because of the lack of any ranged
tree.
weaponry, this animal will literally be at the mercy of Kong when it comes within range.
100%.
Using its impeccable accuracy and its
a
ability with
savage.
throwing makeshift spears, this Giga would become the hunted if caught in Kong's scope of vision.
100%. No-
Keep
no-
in
no
mind that
chance.
Kong wouldn't kill this animal if they just both were sane enough to stay out of each other's way. But that's not the case with this Giga, because this species is simply not wired this way. They kill everything on sight, and that just does not go with Kong. Even the skull crawlers
Yeah,
have
so
a
Kong
reason
would
to
see that,
kill
and he would
simply
destroy
because
him.
of their metabolism. Anything in front of them that fits in their mouth, they will eat.
Ugh.
And the Giga is also included. Perhaps, maybe not the juvenile skull crawlers. These little guys will most likely even serve as food for ARK's Giga
Really?
as well.
I thought the
Their
skull crawlers would
armorless
put up more
bodies
of a
will
fight.
provide absolutely no protection from the Giga's gnashing bites, meaning that any aftermath against skull crawlers will be largely dependent on how large these skull crawlers are.
Exactly. It's
a
gotta
skull
be
crawler larger
Ooh.
than the size of Ramarak would probably have a good chance at bringing down a Giga.
That's a big
but
boy.
A crawler in equal size
That's
is a
still a big boy.
matchup that could go either way.
I
This
like that
one
fight,
is up
actually.
for debate and will be featured in a future episode.
Good, I
Subscribe
wanna see that
not
a lot.
to miss it.
Okay,
The
that's a
question
bet.
to answer is the following: is what this animal brings to the table enough to help it survive on this island?
think, I mean,
the
you know, it
answer
could be.
really
Yeah.
depends on how this Giga behaves itself. Don't worry, we'll give you a final verdict in a little bit, but given how this animal behaves, it is really unlikely that the big neighboring creatures will give it a pass. On one
I
end,
mean, that
this
is
animal
true. He is just
annihilates
there to
all
destroy.
innocent life forms that come across its way. It's taking away this animal's source of food, and not only that, this Giga went out of its way to attack the Iwi. Now, if we look at the likelihood
they
of this
needed
Giga
to,
choosing
Kong
to
and the
not
skull
do
crawlers
these things,
could just
the
team up.
chances are really low, simply because this thing is instinctively wired to kill and repeat. This leaves no other option for both Kong and Skullcrawler to fight this thing until it's destroyed.
See what I'm saying? They can
For
team up and
extras,
it'd be
we'll
over
go
with.
ahead and state that both fully grown Kong and
Look at fully grown
Kamazots
Kong.
would easily make quick work of a
Easy
Giga.
money, yeah.
Facing off against Titans is completely out of the Giga's league.
100%.
It took the most dangerous biome in the world to finally put an end to ARK's Giga. Had it not been for its instinct to kill absolutely everything, maybe this animal would have found another home.
Yeah, he might have,
Thanks for
but not
watching
today,
this
guys.
episode.
That is the end of this video. And like I said, Kong, the skull crawlers, they were destroyed. Thank you for watching with me. I will see you all tomorrow. I love ya. Goodbye.